A huge increase in National Grid's electric rates has prompted some customers to shop around for a better deal. And why not? With a handful of alternate power supply companies out there, there are some options. But one Pawtucket man found out the hard way there may be some unexpected charges with the change.
I decided I was going to switch over.
Like many National Grid customers, Larry Respecki got a letter from North American Power offering cheaper electricity and reminding him about the substantial rate increase the state approved for National Grid late last year. Respecki, who is retired and has 2 electric meters for his house in Pawtucket, thought it sounded like a pretty good deal.
I agreed to a contract for 1 year at a rate of 8.99 cents kilowatt hour versus 10.72, which was only a savings of about 1.73 cents per kilowatt hour, but roughly in the vicinity of $10 to $20 per month per meter.
Everything was going well until he got a bill from National Grid 2 months after the switch.
When I got the bill, I kind of flipped out and I started calling, I called National Grid.
Respecki had received what is called a standard offer billing adjustment. In his case, it was $136.35 for one of his meters and $86.78 for another, totaling $223.13.
In Rhode Island right now, there are about 4 or 5 companies that are active in offering new contracts to residential and small C&I customers.
Thomas Kogut is an associate administrator for the Rhode Island Public Utilities Commission, which regulates National Grid's electric rates and approved a 24% increase last year. Why the push now for an alternative to National Grid?
I think it's a market opportunity issue. And the market opportunity is generated by volatility. In New England, we have a gas pipeline constraint problem. A large part of our electric generation is fed by natural gas. In fact, a growing percentage is going to be fed by natural gas. That gas pipeline competes with heating customers for the volume on those pipes. As a result, in January and February, the electric generation prices throughout the region basically go through the roof. If you're a competitive supplier, you now have a target to go against. You can offer, in a volatile environment, maybe a price that's a bit cheaper.
And that's what hooked Larry Respecki. But he had buyer's regret after being hit with the one-time adjustment charge.
I considered a deceptive, I use the term deceptive practice for not letting me know in advance as to I would be hit with these high fees. In other words, had I known, I would have never switched over.
The PUC got an earful from Respecki and hundreds of others.
We have a staff member who has literally been picking up the phone from the minute he walks in to the end of the day, and then sometimes appreciably a while thereafter. And he's been doing that solid for the last 2 months. One of the problems is a misperception as to what the billing adjustment is. There are some people saying, aha, National Grid is penalizing me, or it's a spiteful act by National Grid.
For them leaving.
For them leaving. National Grid doesn't care. They really don't.
Kogut says the adjustment comes because customers in January and February have been paying less per kilowatt hour than it costs National Grid to supply the electricity, and the company is simply squaring up the discrepancy. If they had stayed with the company, it would have evened out over the course of the year.
However, the perception and the reality is, the one thing we do know is that there are hundreds of customers out there who didn't fully anticipate the fact that they were going to get a bill that would have a line item on it that says, here you owe $80, $100, $120 as a residential customer in this true-up. And that's a problem. It takes a while to explain to people exactly what that is. We have investigated a lot of these complaints specifically on that issue, whether or not there had been a disclosure on the billing adjustment. We had a couple of situations where we were a bit concerned that with some of the suppliers that it wasn't as clear as it should have been. Those things have been corrected.
We found the disclaimer in the fine print on the backside of American Power's solicitation letter. But Respecki says he'd like to see the state force the companies to tell customers exactly how much they'd have to pay for an adjustment before they decide to switch.
They send out these notices, how you're doing with your neighbors with the electric bill, how's, you're doing better or worse and all that. I think one of the companies, either North American Power, but I think first start with National Grid because they're the ones that charge you the bill. They should tell you up front, if you want to switch companies, here's what it may cost you.
And Kogut offers this advice.
Read your electric bill. How many of us actually read our electric bill? I mean, we do here in this building, but
that's your job.
We're living the dream, So, so yeah, we look forward to reading our electric bills.
Jim Hummel for the Hummel Report.